IBM and eBay are the latest tech companies announcing layoffs. Google, Amazon, and others announced cuts earlier this month. Joining us right now is Jason Greer, founder and president of Greer Consulting Group. I want to thank you for joining us. We have seen this wave of layoffs, Jason. I wonder whether you think these are idiosyncratic, whether you think this is the beginning of a wave, whether you think that companies are just coming to the realization that they have been bloated. I mean, a lot of people talked about the bloat during the pandemic and then felt like they couldn't lay people off during that period. How do you assess this?
I think that the market rewards layoffs. I also think the fact that there's a certain amount of bloat that happened, especially after COVID, well, during COVID, where companies overhired. But I think there's something else at play. Artificial intelligence is really at play here. When you really look at the numbers of people that are being restructured or being laid off, you're looking at a lot of white collar jobs. But especially, and I'm going to speak directly to my human resources folks, 28% of the layoffs that have happened have been in human resources, largely in the fact that artificial intelligence has made the automation of those jobs to the point where you no longer need those human resources professionals.
So you think AI has already hit the business effectively?
Oh, absolutely. Especially in the tech sector. I mean, they've been talking about it for years. Now, the fact that you have more companies moving toward artificial intelligence, and they're looking at the fact that as opposed to paying somebody $200,000, $300,000 a year to do the job, I can actually use artificial intelligence to do the job that they used to be able to do.
So what does this portend? I mean, do you think that we're going to start to, if you looked at the Fortune 500, would you think we're going to see 10%, 20% layoffs? I mean, in terms of total numbers of employees at these companies over the next, call it 2 or 3 years, what does that look like to you?
Probably about 10% of the workforce is going to be laid off, especially when the fact that, again, the market rewards it. But that's just sort of the trend that we see ourselves going down.
Are there certain, I mean, we've talked about also the protected jobs. There are certain types of jobs. Oddly enough, people thought that blue collar workers were going to lose their jobs first. Now it may very well be the white collar workers.
Oh, the white collar workers are in trouble. Let's talk about blue collar workers. And I'll say this and I say it again. That's why we need to start investing more money into trade schools. We need to start sending students into trade schools because blue collar jobs are where it's at. White collar jobs, on the other case, especially in middle management, sales, along the lines, those are the jobs that are being eradicated because people don't want to continue to pay the salaries for things that either artificial intelligence can do, or instead of hiring 5 people to do that job, I can cut it down to 2. And so I know that they'll do the work of 5 people.
How concerned, though, are you about, there was a whole period of time everyone said you got to be an engineer. Everybody needs an engineering degree. Everybody poured into engineering. Now you're talking about AI effectively taking those engineering jobs. Now you and others are saying, hey, everyone's got to get reskilled so they can do a blue collar job. Well, if Elon Musk has his way, he's going to have robots doing a lot of these jobs very soon, and you're starting to see more and more of this. So in terms of trying to skate where the puck is or isn't, what would you really do?
I would take a look at what the market is rewarding. And right now, the market is still rewarding. Let's be honest, the market is still rewarding technical skills. The market is rewarding technology, it's rewarding coding, it's rewarding those kinds of things. I think ultimately, though, people need to take a look at the fact that corporations will utilize your skill set when they need you, and they will get rid of your skill set when they don't need you. So what I will tell people is invest in your side hustle, whatever the case might be. If you want to create your own job, you want to create your own business, that's what you do. Because if you're going to go into the market thinking that corporations are going to take care of you, they're just not, because there's no reason for them to do so.
What do you think about a college degree? We told the American public for the last 50 years, if you get a college degree, it's going to help you immensely. And I think there's a lot of people who feel like that was a myth.
I'm speaking to you as somebody who has 3 college degrees, a bachelor and 2 master's degrees. I think that college is still where it's at because you don't go to college to get a job. You go to college to learn how to think. But on the other side of that, these colleges and universities need to stop charging $800,000 a year just so somebody can get a degree, only for them to come out making $17.50 an hour. It doesn't work. But again, if we could retool the way that we look at college, we could retool the way that colleges are basically doing this cash crunch on students that want to come to college, I think we could still utilize college for what it should be, and that's teaching people how to think.